everyone. It's Mark Zielinski, and it's time for another episode of Mupp Lore. And yes, we decided to go back to Mupp Lore because it's the only thing that makes sense. And of course, I've got Wiki Dave here.
Hello.
The king of all Kings of War lore.
And the wiki.
And the wiki.
And the wiki that I spend way too much time on. Like at night, when I'm in bed with my partner, I'm just writing, at the moment it's on his price, just writing bios and stuff, so I spend way too much time. But yeah, we're going to be calling ourselves Mupp Lore, not because we can't think of anything better, but mainly because we can't think of anything better.
Well, it also fits. I mean, this is the lore show, and we're also going to be doing Kings of War under this banner, as well as an upcoming thing for Warpath. Yes,
me and Clodo, hopefully, in the new year, we'll start doing it. And that kind of leads us into this episode, because this episode's a little bit special. This is our top, the ups and downs of 2024 when it comes to lore, Pannithor lore, specifically.
Yeah, well, and our top 5 wishes for 2025.
Yeah, I always love those kind of lists. Like, and then if me and Mark don't get sick of each other and kill each other, we'll do another one at the end of the year, and we can reflect on what we wish for and see actually if that paid off or not.
There you go. Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to this one. So I think our format is we're going to start with the ups, and then I'll call one out, and then Dave will see if he has a matching one on the list, and we will discuss and go from there. So I'm wondering if we have anything different.
Yeah, so for the audience, we don't know each other's lists. We've completely done it separate from each other. We've got a feeling it's going to do a little bit of a crossover, but if they do, we'll just mark it off. So you'll at least to get 5, perhaps more. So we'll just take it one step at a time. So we'll do the top 5 ups for 2024.
There you go. All right. Well, my top up for the year, or you know what? We're just going to throw them out. They're in no particular order, so we'll go with that. So one of my top 5s is start collecting books for the Trident Realm and for the Abyssals. There's not much in there, okay, granted, but it does give you some background, some history of the army, and, you know, like in 2014 we did this, etc. And I just love those little books, and I really hope that they keep putting the PDFs out of those, but I really, really enjoyed them. So did you have that on your list, Dave?
I actually did, not for the exact reason you mentioned, but because this is one of those rare, very rare, sadly, moments where Mantic actually tie in the novels with their own stuff, like with what's on the table and what's in their booklet. So in the Force of the Abyss, they mention Mark Barber's book Steps of Deliverance in there. So it's starting to show that integration between what the lore and what we're seeing on the table versus what's actually been written in the novels, which we want to see more of. I think that there's so much really good stuff in both sides of the equation that just need to mesh a lot more. And I think that is another big step of seeing that being mentioned in that introduction book, because that could be someone's first experience into Kings of War. And if they see, oh, there's a novel, that's going to perhaps lead to discovering all this other expanded lore, which I read way too much of. So that, yeah, it was on my list. It was actually number 5. It was a bit down on there, but it was right up there.
There you go. Well, that was my number 5 as well. I started at the bottom. I'm working my way up. So.
All right. Well, if we're going to do that, I'll go to my number 4 then, because that was fun.
All right. So, do you want to do it? What's your number 4?
Yeah, I'll go through mine. So we'll do tit for tat, and if they've got more than 5 that one of us don't have, we'll go over that. So I've actually got the Clash of Kings 2024 or 25 lore book. And it's the armies that were released with it. So we're talking about Lord of Lies, the model, and Lord of Lies being introduced in 3rd edition. It did exist in 2nd edition previously, but with no model, and it wasn't really described what it was. And I think this is the first time we had a visual representation of what that avatar of Oscan is, and I think that was really cool. We also got a new species, the Nagari, and funny enough, we got them also in the Forces of Abyss Armada, which is actually later on my list, but I'll just jump ahead. We also got the Berserkers, which looks like it's a more evolved type of Abyssal. We also got the first named Pond Warden, which is Aryan. We also got the first named Death Horror, which is Nargar. That's how I'm pronouncing it. We also got all the names of the Trident Kings and a little bit more fleshed out of their lore, their particular lore. And the last named one we also got was an Ifrit, Tulorgar. So we got a lot of firsts in that lore book, which is exciting because it helps flesh out a lot, especially the Trident King names, because we all knew the three Trident realms were ruled by Trident Kings, but we never actually knew what their name was, and it was always something that was kind of ambiguous. I think only one of them had been previously named. I think it was in an Armada book, but it was really cool to see now, yes, we've got the names. They're actually now a unit in the game. I think that just adds so much more to the Trident realm kind of lore in general, just as a whole.
Very cool. That was my number 3, right in the middle. So,
that was your 3.
That was my 3. And the big thing I got out of it too was it was a great way that they figured out from a lore perspective. They have the two armies fight because they're fighting underwater, and the whole 9 yards. And I really love the story about the shard and all that, and the vents that are opening up of the abyss underneath, the sea and everything else. So I thought that was kind of a really neat thing because, in the stories, that's a lot of, what players think about too, is how are these two armies meeting and why are they meeting? And that's one thing about the Trident realms. It's like, who's fighting them under the water? Well, I thought that was brilliant that the Abyssals could do it and that they opened up a really cool way for them to be able to do it. So,
yeah.
But more on that in my upcoming, what am I looking forward to in 2025 list.
Well, to add on to that as well, it also showed that the Forces of Abyss can fight underwater as well, because they are fire-based. I mean, whenever we look at Forces of Abyss, we think, flames coming out and everything. To show that their makeup or their genetic makeup or their magical abilities or whatever can operate underground just opens so many different doors. And also kind of shows it also kind of helped build the idea of why the Wicked Ones can't get out of the Abyss, because it's kind of starting to indicate they are imprisoned there due to some barrier that only the reformation of Osgyn's axe can get them out as well. So it's adding to why the big bads are the big bads. The Wicked Ones are stuck there because of this. And because we never got this, we just knew they got thrown in there and imprisoned. We don't know how. We don't know how they get out. We don't know why they kept on, recruiting all these races to continuously attack the mortal realms and what the end goal was. So I think it helped flesh that out. Hopefully we get more of that later on, but I think now we're starting getting a better vision of what the intentions of the Wicked Ones are.
Yeah, absolutely. So, much more lore than there is in the Start Collecting books. But
correct.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I really liked the cockbook this year. It really, really worked out well. So
yeah, I the lore side of it was really great. I think that there's definitely a win there, and it makes me look forward to, if that's the amount of effort they're putting into the Clash of Kings books now, it makes me wonder what 4th edition is going to be like when they start to add some few new nuggets there as well. Anyway,
cool.
I guess we'll go with your top three. Oh, your
no!
That was your 3.
I'm out of order. So what's your number?
So you 4. No, you do 4 because I just did 4. So you do your 4 now because that one was your 3.
There you go. Well, my number 4 was Dungeon Saga Origins, and I'm claiming it as a 2024 release because it went to retail in May of 2024. So, and I just think there was some really cool lore in there. I like the way that the game mechanics worked, and just the whole thing. It took it underground. It made it a little easier than the old Dungeon Saga, and I just liked it overall.
Yeah. I completely forgot about that because when I started doing the wiki and getting more involved in the community and sides of the lore and just really sinking my teeth into it, Mantic was kind enough to send me a legendary edition for free of the Dungeon Saga Origins. And I was able to add it to everything I was doing in the timeline, because Dungeon Saga Origins, it's not just called that because it's just the next version of the game. It literally is the prequel to Dungeon Saga, because what happens in that campaign leads to the first Dungeon Saga campaign, which is the Dwarf King's Quest, because they find the map that leads them to that. So I really love that tie. So you could write a timeline from all those campaigns, because it does lead. I think it goes, the Glimmer, Greed of Glimmer, all those that they lead to it, and then that leads to the Dungeon Saga and the Dwarf King's Quest, which leads to the Return of Valdor, which leads to the Destiny of Kings, which leads to the Edge of the Abyss, which leads to everything else that takes place, like the current books that are coming place. So it fits into the timeline very well. And I did not have that on my list, so you got me there.
There you go. Yeah, it's kind of neat seeing the guys and gals a little bit younger, and it just was really cool. So I really appreciate it. And the next 2 modules are coming out in 2025. So,
yes.
Which is something everybody can take a look at.
Yeah, I think it's Darkness of Dire and what was the other one? Is
that the Twilight Kin one?
Yeah, that's the Twilight Kin one, because there was actually 5 of them, wasn't there? Because there was that special Kickstarter one that they added in. I think it's Darkness of Dire and something of Malice. I want to say Malice. Mirrors of Malice, that's it. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I need to pick that one up. I sent my Twilight Kin models to Jeremy Duvall to create his Twilight Kin army that he's not doing anymore. So
you have to get him back.
I got to pick it back up. I'm not doing that. I'll just pick up another copy. So
I think the next one is the Daughters of Doom, which a lot of those models are actually turned up in the vault. Just a little heads up. Mirrors of Malice, and then Darkness of Dwyer. Darkness of Dwyer was that additional, that's like the 5th one. But it all matches the timeline. I don't know, it does never specify what year this takes place, but all I know is like what year it takes place before. So yeah, that's a really good one. And apparently they're remaking not remaking, maybe revisionizing the Dungeon Saga with this new rule set. So that's apparently what was teased at Clash of Kings.
Oh, I didn't hear that. That could be exciting. I got a giant box full of Dungeon Saga here that just sitting now. The Dungeon Saga Origins is here. So,
have you got the Legendary Edition?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So
fact,
if you look
I
in
was
the dark,
dumb enough to buy 2 of them.
I don't know if that's dumb, but you got the money for it. Do it. The Darkness Under Dire booklet. If you look in it, it refers to actually quests. Some of the campaigns that are in the original Dungeon Saga, like the Warlord of Gladhur, and I think the Tyrant of Harpy, maybe that one as well. It actually refers to those in the last page of that book in the narrative. So it actually it shows that those events still happened, they still existed. Where they fell about in the timeline, not sure, but all we know from sounds of it took place. Those campaigns took place after the Dungeon Saga Origins, which is quite interesting. It'll be good to one day get a definitive timeline on that.
Yeah, I'm still working through the original set. So, the first one, I'm working on reformatting the house where we can get a gaming table upstairs again. So, that way I'll be able to lure my wife to the gaming table much easier than so.
Well, I'm nearly convinced my girlfriend to play Halo with me. So, I mean, I'm getting there myself on my end. I would love to play a session of Dungeon Saga Origins with someone else other than myself, because the virtual companion is pretty good. If you just want to play by yourself, as sad as that is, but it works. So, all right, I guess I'll move to my one next, because that one's separate from me. So the ones I got. For number 3.
You should be up on number 3. Yeah, I did my number 3.
Yeah, I'm number 3.
Already, so.
Yeah, so I put the Forces of the Abyss and the Kingdom of Men Armada models in Vault. So what we saw,
I don't have that one, so...
So yeah, because you were talking about it earlier, the Kings of Men Armada, but we actually got models for an existing faction that previously didn't have models, which is the Kings of Men Armada. It had cards, it didn't have the actual models, but we also got a Forces of Abyss faction. So we got a brand new faction for Armada, so everyone going around saying Armada's dead. It's not, it's just moved to a more kind of, it's still happening, and if you want to support it, this is how you do it on the Vault. But it's still ticking along, and now it'll be interesting, and I would love someone out there to let me know how that changes the gameplay, really, because if you add a brand new faction to the meta, it's going to change things. People are going to start asking, how do they play on the table? How do those models look? I'm really excited. And they've only just come out, the forces of Abyss Armada ones. But it also shows you the power of the Vault, of that if you're buying these STLs, if you're showing support, and not just buying them, you're downloading the actual files, because they see that as well. So it's one thing buying it. There's another thing of actually downloading it, because they will see those metrics. They will invest more into it, because now we've got Griffins for the first time actually in the game. We've got Mantic Griffins, because the Kingdom of Men Armada flyer is a Griffin. So that's the first time we've actually had a Griffin in the game. So again, another first. And we also got another avatar from a Wicked One, the avatar of Argrafel, which is a captain you can select for the forces of the Abyss Armada, which is cool because, if you remember back to our first episode about the Celestians, avatars are a way of the Wicked Ones being on the mortal plane, and Argrafel is quite a significant Wicked One. All the Abyssal Dwarfs love her. She is Golak, whatever his name is slowly weaning towards. If you've read the Pride of a King, she is a quite important Wicked One as well. So having her dumped into there, just I wouldn't say casually, but you can see it on the companion. It's there as a really cool lore drop, and I'm looking forward to seeing if anything more comes of that.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, in the vault for December, we only got 3 of the ships. So we've got the Archfiend extra large ship, the Abyssal Berserker large ship, and the Nagari tiny ships, so to speak.
Have you not? Did you not see Clive posting January's one already?
I did, but I don't have January yet, so that's why nobody's fielded this fleet yet. So, but it's really exciting for that coming up, because we've got the Abyssal Flame Bearer small ship, the Abyssal Guard medium ship, the Abyssal Hellhound large ship, and then, interestingly enough, the other tiny ship is the Well of Souls, which I thought was a really cool model. And I think that they did a neat little thing where, as opposed to having you be able to scale it up, it's got ships involved and being sucked into the vortex. So I wonder if anybody's going to try enlarging that and putting it on the Kings of War tabletop. So, but
you can do that nowadays. So there's actually one model that they haven't released of it. So the flagship is the Archfiend one. I've always put class at the end of the ships on the wiki, just to make them so you can tell the difference between if it's a ship or it's actual, an Archfiend. So we've got the Archfiend class, which is the main flagship, and then you got the Abyssal Guard class, and then the Berserker class. Then you got the Flame Bearer, and then the Tortured Souls is something we haven't seen yet. I know it's a ship because it's on the companion. The full list is actually already on the companion if you want to check it out. And then this other support ship is the Nagari Serpent. And then the flyers are the Gargoyle Swarm, which is already released because I think they're with the Abyssal Dwarf Armada and the Twilight Kin. I think both get Gargoyle Swarms. And then the Well of Souls is another flyer. So the Abyssal Hellhound that's been released, that's actually a named ship. It's actually one of the few, every Armada fleet gets a name ship. That's actually a name ship. It's actually a modified Berserker class ship. That's my nerdness getting in there.
Very, very cool. Well, no, it's a very cool looking ship.
It is.
I'm going to try printing these up. Now, I'm actually been printing up Armada ships on my FDM Bamboo Mini A1. So, and they've been turning out okay. So I primed up a couple of them today for test subjects, but for my purposes, I'd
love a 3D printer, mate. That would be amazing.
So so I've been doing that, and I printed up some of the tiny ones, and I'm just kind of messing around with it. Mostly I play Armada at Origins when Mike Carter and the Ohio War Kings are running their Learn to Plays, and I'll play there. Or if I get an odd chance to push a couple models around in the large game at Adepticon, play a little bit here or there. But, Blake Schroed puts that on. So big tip of the hat to Blake. You should see this table. If you're an Armada person, wow, is all I got to say. He puts a lot of effort into it, and he prints them and he paints them real quick, and he's been printing them up too. But Yeah. So I'm going to see if these print up very well in the FDM or not, but I've been working on it, and I just think they look really cool. So I'm really looking forward to it. And boy, I don't know if Armada's going to start pulling some of my Kings of War time or not.
To be honest, I think contrary to popular belief, Armada community is still pretty strong. I'm on the Armada Facebook page, and I know a lot of people continues to talk about it. I think just from a sales point of view, it's probably not making a lot of money, which is why Mantic wanted to go away with it. But I think the SDL kind of program has shown that the community is still there. The community still wants to play, and games are still being played. And you can see that on the companion app as well. The top tournaments cropping up. Here in MUP, we want to start an Armada show. We want to try and lock 2 people down to start talking about it on a regular basis. And I think Armada definitely could stay around, and you could even see a second edition one day. But we also have to show that the demand is there for it. And I think right now is a really good time of keeping that fan base talking and playing the game. And we're seeing with a brand new faction being introduced late this year that the health of the game is still there. It's still beating. It's just a case of just making sure you get your voices heard.
Well, on top of that, you want to talk about expanding. We got new ghost ships this year too.
True.
I mean, not that came with a lot of lore,
yeah.
But they were awesome. I mean, just awesome sculpts. So
yeah, I've got them all on the wiki if anyone's interested. They're under the, I think, Undead faction. I've put Ghost Fleet under basically being the Undead kind of Armada faction. But yeah, I mean, we've got variants of the Drake class, Drake ships from Salamanders, the EUI, the Icebreaker, Needlefang, all ghost ship variants. They're so cool looking. I'm looking at them right now. But yeah, again, we could get more variants of those. Those will be those are easy. I don't want to say easy designs. I think I should never say making a 3D model is easy, but that's another avenue of hey, we want some more Armada stuff. How about we make a variant ghost ship of this particular class or this thing? There's so many more ways Armada can grow. So I think Vault is definitely showing that. The community out there is definitely showing that, and seeing those models just gives me a bit of hope for the game of it not just being another one of those games that just fall away and no one ever talks about them again.
Right, but it's also the first example of a Mantic game thriving in the digital realm.
Correct.
I mean, it's getting
100%.
new content. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah. So really excited about it. And you know what? Quite frankly, that's what's got me interested in it and doing it. You know, I've got tons of ships from Adepticon and everything else, but they're sitting in a box and they're not sitting in front of me every day. And I see the support is still there. And I wonder if we'll get some new life for some of the other Mantic games that are kind of on the shelf right now that, we haven't seen any type of release for Dreadball or anything like that. Could that be coming to the vault sometime? Who knows?
I think it's all about proving that the community is there wanting it, and I think as long as you keep the current fans happy and make the game accessible to new, you're going to continue to grow the game. Not every game is going to make millions of dollars, but we also, in order to get to that $1 million figure, you want to keep on keeping that community alive and not just letting it die and just saying, hey, this is not profitable enough. It's making profit, but it's not profitable enough, so we're just going to kill the game. I think that's a bad way of looking at it, especially in such a competitive market nowadays. If you're able to cover all your costs, then call that a win nowadays. If you're able to shove more money into it, then go nuts. But, I mean, that's just, my particular feeling just because of how much competition there is. There's so many games that come and just go within a year or two. And I'm so happy that Armada is not being one of those games, is that I feel like that game is going to be kept alive for a little while longer.
All right. It's very, very cool. I'm very, very excited about it. I'm glad you put that on your list.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't. You're more of a Armada fan than I am.
That's true. I was trying to hit lore, so,
I mean, it is lore. I mean,
I agree with you. I just, but see, that's exciting. It gets us talking about it, and I'm really glad that we did. So do you have a number 2? I'll let you do number 2.
Yeah, I have a number 2. All right, number 2 is Pride of a King. So that book came out earlier this year,
and oddly enough, that's my number 2 as well.
Oh, there we go. I've got a feeling I know what your number 1 is then. But yeah, number 2 definitely that was Pride of the King by Ben Stoddard. It was the first of a trilogy of books called The War of the Stone, I believe. I believe the trilogy is called. Hopefully we do get to see the other two, and I think this is really diving into what the dwarf culture is, especially versus the free dwarf culture of that rift that's happened there. You definitely see all kinds of dwarfs in there. You see the abyssal dwarfs, you see dwarfs, you see free dwarfs. You really get an idea of more of dwarf culture than free dwarf or abyssal dwarf culture, but you're starting to understand why Golok, all that, they are defined as a good faction, the dwarfs are, but they've done a lot of dodgy things. Dodgy, I don't know if that's a term everyone uses, but a few not so great things over the last couple of hundred years, ever since Golok have actually came into power after the Great Civil War. We're starting to understand why, and I think it's very critical to establish why Golok is doing these things, and also where do dwarfs sit in the realm of good versus bad faction. I mean, alignment is always perspective, and it's not. I don't really like the whole good, bad, and neutral kind of definitions, because every faction has all of them inside of itself. But we're starting to understand where, because dwarves feels like more of a neutral faction based off everything that we know now. Even these books, even what's in the green books or the other lore, they do not feel like a good faction. Yes, they're on the right side of things most of the time, but I would say right now on the timeline, they're sitting more of the neutral faction, even leaning closer to capitalist evil kind of side of things. I do see dwarfs as being more capitalist kind of society nowadays, but Pride of the King really started diving there and seeing that rift opened up, and that I think takes place in 3866 in the timeline, so that's about where we are as well, from of the known year. For perspective, 2 years later, that's when the Riftforged orcs arrived and attacked the Shires, so we're about 2 years before that happened. So I think it really fleshed out a lot of characters, especially ones that we knew, like Garrick Heavyhand, like Bannock, like Civi, Itrix, whatever his name is. And we really started to see that these characters that we've known for a long time have some more character and more personality to them, which is really great to see, because I think that's what keeps people interested in lore, is seeing the same characters and watching their journey throughout history. Anyway, that's my spiel. What about you there, Mark?
Yeah, it's a little dense, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
I don't think it's... I think it's dense as in it's a big book, yes. Yeah, I don't think it's dense, and if you pace yourself, if you're trying to power through it, it's probably not the book. You probably want to take time to digest it. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's dense. It's a lot. A lot of stuff happens, and a lot of important things happen. But yeah, I don't know if dense is the right word. Probably it's very heavy. Let's say it's a very heavy book.
Yeah, I call it the Silmarillion of Kings of War so far.
I put that more... That's more my Rise of Celestians for me.
Yeah, you know what? You're right about that. I guess the two of them can arm wrestle over that title. But yeah, so I have not totally finished it yet. So... it's still on my night table, and I'm still working my way through it. So, but
it's a good cliffhanger though at the end.
Oh, I haven't gotten there yet, so I appreciate that one. So, but yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, Ben actually sent me a signed copy out of the blue.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he sent it all the way to New Zealand. Yeah, that's very nice of him.
Oh yeah, Ben's a great guy. He really is. He is absolutely a top shelf human being. So very, very blessed to know him. So
I think it helps that he's very passionate about the world as well. I get that impression from his discussions. I ask him so many questions unrelated to the book, just about dwarfs in general of Pannithor. And he the one takeaway I have from this year is all the writers that I've spoken to. I was talking to Ben, Mark Barber, also Clive, who did the Rise of Celestians. Oh no, Clint. Clint's did the Rise of the Celestians. I even spoke to who did Broken Alliance? Name escapes me.
Scott Washburn.
Scott, yes, even Scott. they're all passionate about the universe. Like, none of them, even though this is not really their universe, they're just kind of playing around in it. All of them have a great deal of love for it. So that's one huge takeaway I have. And the fact that Ben sent me that out of the blue, he just asked for my address out of the blue, which, normally when someone reaches out to you, say, what's your address? And you've never met them or even had a face-to-face conversation with them, you're a bit nervous about it. But he sent me a signed copy, which I'm actually going to donate the copy I had before to the Heart Ward that I was in at the start of this year when I actually started reading about Kings of War lore.
I'm Brandon Rossbond of Winged Hussar Publishing, and you're listening to the Mantic Universe Podcast.
Well, number one, I think is going to be obvious for both of us. So, but
all right, you go because
I'll say it. Honor's Price.
Yes, 100%.
100%. Yeah, I mean, it was great, and we had a great time having Mike on the show and going over it. And boy, is this guy passionate about his book. So I loved his thing on Kings of War Fanatics where he's like, need a Christmas gift?
Yeah, it's a good book. Like, if you were to tell me what's better, Honest Price or Pride of the King, I would say Honest Price, mainly because it leads directly into Pride of the King. There is a the last chapter of both, the last chapter of Honest Price and the first chapter, I think first couple of chapters, anyway, I think it's maybe the third chapter of Pride of the King, they link with each other. They mention each other. And I did learn that Ben and Mike did talk to each other about dwarf culture, how it was, linking these two events together, and they definitely complement each other. So I would say if you love dwarfs and you're like, I need to know the difference between abyssal dwarfs, and free dwarfs, those two books do it. Honest Price covers free dwarfs. You understand their dynamic, the family dynamic. They're all about honor. They're all about each other. They will get distracted during battle if their family's in trouble, and which is very unlike dwarfs. You think dwarfs are just mad and crazy and just keep fighting. They have more of an emotional connection there. Dwarfs, I would say imperial dwarfs, are more capitalist. They don't care about that kind of stuff. They will make every excuse in the world to keep their status quo instead of doing what's right. And then the abyssal dwarfs are all about greed. They're all about looking good. They are just the ones that just want to have the power and they don't care who is sacrificed to do it. And these three, the Honest Price definitely shows that the culture of the free dwarfs, but both books show dwarf culture and really, for me anyway, defines the Mantic dwarf to me. So that was a bit of a rant, but there you go.
Well, that was their job, and they delivered.
100%. And it's a really great book. I'm at the moment documenting Honest Price because I think it's one of the better I would say best books at the moment because I've dived so much into it. I'm documenting that just so I'm excited for people to get more invested in knowing about these characters. And if you haven't got it already, get it. It's digital. You can get it digitally, or you can get a hard copy from Winged Hussar. I suggest you do it. Don't spoil yourself. Dive into it. Mainly if you love dwarfs. If you want to really feel like if you don't really have a strong connection with why Mantic dwarfs are different than others, read these books because it really will change your opinion on them.
Right. The other thing I have to mention out is you did a little Mantic journal.
Yeah, I did.
On Honor's Price. Kind of a love letter to the novel. So
yeah, that will go into. We'll talk about that later in the downs, 5 downs, because there's a reason why I did that. But yeah, I did a bit of I discovered the Mantic journal when I was doing the wiki, and I love it. And I'm like, why aren't they still doing this? This is a really good way of being able to broadcast all your games and cover little bits of lore that people don't know about, even bring back bits of lore that have since been forgotten. Like, I've discovered so much that just you can't get anymore because they just don't sell it. Like, a lot of the stuff in the first edition supplements, or even the pre first edition stuff. I mean, what I think Mantic should do is bring back the Mantic journal and then just publish them every 2 months of just put that with every online order. And I think people love that. Just a little booklet, the same booklet that they put in their second edition stuff, just make a little alternative booklet that advertises everything instead of little leaflets. So I think there's so much in there that they could do. But yeah, we'll go over that a little bit later, why I did that. But yeah, that I think it's still online. If you need it, just reach out to me. I can flick it through. But I really enjoyed doing all that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I tried doing the Countercharge Journal. You can actually get the first edition or the very first volume of it, the only volume of it, over at the Winged Hussar publishing website. It's free. And we really tried to do it ourselves. And, the toughest thing was getting an editor and getting somebody to lay it out. So I wouldn't mind taking another shot at it if we could get a group of people. I can't do it. Okay. Can I draw people together? Can I, help move the blocks of stone in the right direction? Absolutely. Can I sit down and do graphic arts? Absolutely not. So I had it back in the day when Microsoft Publisher was out many, many, many moons ago. I did a couple of fanzines here and there that I laid out with my wife, but I can't do it now. I don't do Canva and, all that stuff. So that's why I have a marketing director for. So I can't pull him to do the Mantic Journal. So, but
no.
That's just not going to happen. So, but if anybody's interested in it, if we can put a group together, back in the day we had Iron Watch magazine too. So, which was fantastic. So we are, I think, missing that. Dash 28 takes the place of that right now. Yeah. But I don't know. There's just something about having those little magazines. They're just so cool.
Yeah, I love doing it. It took me a long time though, to do that little Mantic journal thing. I'm looking for it right now, and I'm like, I actually did pretty all right job in some of these. So, so I'm looking at it right now. But yeah, it would be cool to do that, and I think I'm more than willing to help. And I bet it all comes down to time. I'm technically dying of a heart condition. I shouldn't be doing any of this, but I still do it anyway. So I don't mind helping out where I can, but we will have to have people a little bit more artistically inclined than us.
Absolutely. So, if that's a way that you can get into your hobby, reach out to us. We'll see what we can put together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I suck at painting. I suck at painting. I suck at playing the game, but I love lore. And that's my way of getting into the hobby. I still paint. I've still got my models. Still got my halfling, blue-skinned halfling models, and got my own lore for that. But yeah, some people get into the hobby in different ways, and my way is this lore. So if your way is building stuff like that, feel free to reach out, and we could make something happen.
Absolutely. All righty.
Cool. All right, so that's our top 5. So yeah, actually, is that? Yeah, that's all our top 5, right?
Yeah, top 5, the ups.
Yeah, so we didn't miss anything. Wait, did we miss anything?
I don't think so.
So I got I went honest price, Pride of the King, the Forces of the Abyss, and Kingdoms of Minamata, then the Clash of Kings 2024 lore, and then the mention of the books in the Getting Started booklets, and then you had Dungeon Saga, right?
Yep. Because I had Honors Price, Pride of the King, the new lore and everything from the Clash of Kings book, Dungeon Saga Origins, and then the Start Collecting books.
There we go. Perfect. There we go.
Yeah.
So we had 4 out of 5 each. So we just had one extra that we had to add on there. But that was good. So if you out there have anything, reach out to us. Post in the Discord or post it on the YouTube chat. I should mention that this episode coming out is the first one of the year, but also the first episode that we are releasing on YouTube and releasing as a podcast at the same time. The 3rd of January.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, finally caught up after 83 days of posting every day. That was exhausting. Yeah.
Well, I'm very, very well. A, thank you, and B, I'm very excited to be caught up and having it come out. So
I'm loving doing the shorts at the moment, and it's good to see what people are finding interesting, because YouTube is a good way of like breaking it down a little bit further. Like, oh, people really like listening to this thing. People didn't like listening to this thing, and that kind of might help us guide in the future. Hopefully, we don't change too much anything about our content, but it also shows, oh, that guest was really popular. Let's bring them on again. It's been like a year or something like that. So So yeah, if you've got any feedback for us, YouTube's a really good way of providing that.
There you go. And go take a look at the shorts if you want to see what Chris looks like as a giant chicken. Find that short.
Good AI generators. Yeah, I did make that. Anyway, let's move over before Chris kills me. So
there you go.
We'll go over the top 5 downs, you could say. So when we're saying downs, we're not trying to bash. We're not trying to have a go. I might rant, but just know it comes from a place that I want the Mantic as Pannithor. Just I want that to be better and to really tap into all different sides of the fandom. So just keep that in mind that, I'm saying this from a place of respect and love, though I do get frustrated because I'm just very passionate. So I'm just going to say that right now. Do you want to say anything before we dive into this, Mark?
I am ready to rock and roll.
Okay, so who do you want to go first?
Whichever. I'll start, and then I'm sure we'll switch back and forth. So
okay, we'll do that.
All right. So now, I really thought that Through Thick and Thin was going to come out in 2024, and it didn't. It was supposed to come out in the fall, and I know Mark Barber's been working on it, and I know it's an Armada book, and with the Armada models coming out, I thought it was going to come out, and it didn't. So I was bummed.
We do know it's coming out next year. Yeah.
Yes, it is, and we'll get to that. That's in the next section.
Yeah, we will. Yeah.
What did you have for number 5, Dave?
Number 5. I don't want to do that one yet. I'll do that one at the end. The lack of promotion for Honor's Price. That one bummed me out quite a lot. So the reason why I did the Mantic Journal was because I noticed that Mantic weren't promoting it. There wasn't anything online to say it's coming out. They never did an article on Honor's Price. The only advertisement they ended up doing is, I think it was the 3rd entry in a newsletter that was emailed out. And that really bummed me out. It was the fact that this is a huge Free Dwarf book. As we found out, it actually was a lot bigger in terms of Free Dwarf culture than I initially thought it was going to be. It plays off a book that they did promote earlier in the year, which is The Pride of the King. And it kind of ties in with that. And it's a big... And we didn't have a lot of novels this year. I think we only had 2. So the fact that they didn't...
Just 2. Yeah.
Just 2. And you only had 2. And you couldn't even do an article on it on the website, which really bummed me out. And I felt bad for Mike because you could tell a lot of heart goes on it. You listen to any podcast that Mark was on when it was Countercharge, whether it was here Up. He loved writing that book. He loves the world, and the fact that the company behind it couldn't even put a little article to say, hey, this book is out. This is our interview with the author about it. Just didn't feel right to me, and it felt like it was, how can you expect the fandom to be excited about the lore if the company isn't excited about releasing the lore? It was very frustrating for me, and that's why I did the Mantic Journal. It was because I didn't see he was getting enough love, and I think that I was really excited for the book. It was the first book since really getting engrossed in the community and the lore. And it just really, really disappointed me that they couldn't just put one article with an interview with him. In the end, they did do something, but it was just, for me, it flopped a little bit.
Yeah, my shelf copy came the other week, so I'm happy that it's there. So, but yeah, it's a good book. So if you have not read it, I would highly suggest you get it. I think you can pick it up for like $10 off the Mantic website now.
The ebook,
the ebooks up there. Yeah, so you can get the ebook, and if you need a shelf copy like me, you can get those from Winged Hussar or get them off Amazon or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but
and that's where I got mine as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So so pick it up, check it out, make Mike Rossi happy, because a happy Mike Rossi is better than a sad Mike Rossi. So make Steve Hildrew happy too. So go ahead and pick up a copy.
And more importantly, we get more. It's just that's the way of economics, right? The more you buy, the more likely you want to get it. So if we want more of this kind of stuff, buy it, and if you just read it. And that lore, I hope is now canon that is integrated into it, because it is the retaking of Harpy Mountains. It is the start of that whole campaign, and that was a huge deal about with dwarf culture. That they lost the free dwarfs. The free dwarfs lost all their lands. They were kicked out. This is the start of them reclaiming who they are, and the fact that the free dwarfs are now a fully fledged faction makes it even more important in my eyes, anyway.
Right. Well, I mean, from my perspective, should have never lost the Halpy Mountains because we won that section of the global campaign. But I digress, and I am going to move on to number 4.
All right, you go.
So I really thought we were going to get Claws on the Plane last year, too.
This is all about the books you didn't get.
So far. But that should have came out in 2023. That was supposed to come out in 2024, and we didn't get it. And as you mentioned, we only got 2. And you could almost make an argument that we only got 1, Honor's Price, because Pride of a King came out, I think it was in December of 2023 on the second day of the 12 days of Christmas for Winged Hussar. For one day, you could have bought Pride of a King in pre-release. So, but the official release wasn't until January 2024. So
that's why I included it.
Yeah, absolutely. But, again, still, I mean, you could almost technically, if you really wanted to, and you were in the bar and you really need to make arguments about something, you could almost argue that Honor's Price was our only novel. But I was very disappointed. I have been looking forward to this. I think I pre-ordered this book on Black Friday 3 years ago. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And I know it's going to be good because it's been, honed to a sharp edge. So I'm really looking forward to it. So
it's got to be, I think it's the first dive we've had into really orc kind of culture as well. I think there's a big orc component to it. So I'm really intrigued to see how they interact nowadays. We know how orcs normally are, but how do Mantic orcs operate? It's always been a little bit fuzzy. So this would be a good insight to all that.
And if you want a little bit of extra information on Mantic orcs, check out the episode that Dave and I did on Orc Lore. So
and the mating rituals of an orc. So,
There's a short about that.
I made a short about that. Yeah. You'd be surprised how many people dislike the shorts, though. That short has already got a couple of dislikes, which was a little bit gutting.
Really?
But, Yeah.
I love the shorts.
I like doing them, but you release them and then you get 2 likes and then 1 dislike. You're like, what, does a third of the people think this is crap? Because it's the only gauge I've got, right? And so sometimes it's a bit disheartening, but I still like doing them and I enjoy it. And feedback you give me as well keeps me going, so it's good.
There you go. So if you can do us a favor, go out there, find the shorts on YouTube and give them a like. And then that way they'll show up, get suggested by YouTube, and then we can get Dave to do more of them. So
but if you don't like them, let me know.
Yes.
If they're not good, let me know so I can improve it. It's 99% of fixing a problem is identifying there is one. So how can I fix it if I don't know?
I love the Alessio one with the history of Kings of War. And if you have not seen that, folks, go out, find that short. I think it's hilarious, particularly the bar scene. So
getting it cut within a minute, getting a 3-minute conversation cut down to 1 minute is an art form in itself. And I understand why people get hired just to do shorts nowadays. it's really difficult.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. So what do you got next?
All right. My next one is, and this may be a bit controversial, but this one is the Trident Realm models. The release of the models. So in my positive, I said the Forces of the Abyss models were great. This time I'm going to say the Trident models weren't so great. From a lore point of view, I think it was a bit of a misstep to release the Lord of Lies, but not do the Trident Kings. Because we found out that there's 3 Trident Kings, right? They could easily have released a Trident King model, which you could alternate which king you wanted it to be. And that would be a nice alternative to the Lord of Lies. And I think that was a big misstep. And I think the Coral Giant, which they released, wasn't as great as I think they might have wanted it to be. And I think that's where the kind of a lot of people say that there was a bit of a disappointment on Mantic's side, and this is all rumors and backdoor conversations, that they're real disappointed of the sales of the Trident Realms armies, and I can see why, because there wasn't really that big piece that like the Forces of Abyss had. There wasn't an introduction of anything really new. Yes, we had the Toad Wardens. You had them being kind of shown as a model, but I don't know. I don't think it hit so hard, and I was a bit disappointed that, yes, we know what a Coral Giant is now, but you had a really good opportunity to finally show us what a Trident King looked like, and it could have been anything. So yeah, that was one of my little disappointments there.
Yeah, well, I'll chime in on that too. I was very disappointed in the Coral Giant model that came out. I don't think it fit the lore, because there was one in the Tales of Mantica in the beginning. There was a Coral Giant, I believe, in the story, and I think it was with the Empire of Dust, and I think Clint wrote it too. And it just didn't fit. I don't want to say anything else. And I really think that giving us models we already had, was kind of a whiff too, because I understand they were in metal and resin, but we still had them. It was nothing new, like I already had 3 Dam Busters in resin. I wasn't running out, even though I did, because I got a great, opportunity to pick them up at Origin. So I did, but it just wasn't, inspiring. I think they really missed with not putting out the placoderms. I think that would have been an absolute home run. And the gecko.
Agreed.
So if you would, that was the way to go. Don't give me stuff I already got. And I understand that, models are a pain in the butt, but I already had them. So
yeah,
I think we needed something new. And the Nagari and the Abyssal Berserkers prove that out.
Correct, yeah, and that's why they were so popular. We've got new races, we've got all this cool looking lore, we got stuff we didn't expect, and I think that's why that stuck out a lot more. And I think the issue isn't the Trident Realms not being popular, it's just the fact that what was released wasn't that popular, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we got stuff we didn't need.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, I make my tidal swarms out of the little otters and stuff, so,
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, the Coral Giant looks cool, but it's like, oh yeah, that's cool.
I'll disagree
rather
with
than
you.
that looks cool. Yeah, I like it. But I mean, that's one thing. That's not something I wouldn't buy it. I was like that. Yeah, that looks cool. It's not like if it looked at the Lord of Lies compared to that, you go Lord of Lies every day. But
oh right, exactly. Yeah, and that's a good measure. It wasn't Lord of Lies cool.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's a cool model. That's a cool looking. And I understand modeling's hard, yada yada yada, but you can tell this is from conceptual stages. If someone goes, what model should we make next? And you don't go Trident King, you go, all right, what should I make? Trident King or Coral Giant? That's pretty obvious which one you should have gone for.
Well, the other thing too is all the previous giants have all been modeled off of the one giant. So you would think that it would be similar different in some not that you could have reused it because no human legs involved, etc. But still something similar. Just But anyway,
I've seen a few variants. Anyway, we mean this with all the respect in the world. Just it's just not something that hit.
Lots of love, Mantic. We love you. So
exactly.
Yep. The tidal swarms were okay. They were pretty cool. I'm going to be printing those out.
I mean,
up on the vault already.
Yeah, I think we've got some Thurl on the Thurl on the vault as well. But yeah, I mean, we are talking to Mantic like they're very sensitive, and I hope they're not this sensitive. So we don't mean this condescendingly. So
also, get mad at us. All right, let's see. My number 3 is, I don't know, the last Mantic monthly update came out on YouTube in September of 2024. And basically Halo took over and that was the end of it. I miss those. And not that they were lore heavy from a Kings of War perspective, etc., but to me it was company lore, which to me counts because it stays out there. It tells you what's coming up a little bit. Ronnie gives you a little background and you get some lore drop here and there on it, but I really like those. Andy Burtis came on board and was hitting it out of the park with those. I like the updates with Ronnie, and then we went Halo. Now, I don't play Halo. I'm not going to play Halo, and I can't say I don't care about Halo because I am so glad Mantic is doing it and doing a great job with it, and it's going to do really well for them. So I love it, but I miss my monthly update.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I mean, I'm obviously a Halo fan. I do the Mup Halo here. I've got a Halo helmet literally to my left. And so I love Halo, but it does, I think I'll just dive on that. It does feel like the minute Halo came out, Mantic Studios became Mantic Studios that does Halo, and that's about it. I mean, every social media post that you saw from them on Facebook was just Halo promoting. Yes, it's making the money, get it, big launch, all that stuff. But if you look at their YouTube channel, it's pretty much just only Halo only. Now, I get why they're doing that from a business point of view, but it kind of feels like, it kind of feels like everyone else is kind of pushed to the side a little bit without acknowledging we're still around. Like, yeah, Kings of War, you're still there. Yep, hi guys. Oh, hey, guys from Dead Zone, all that kind of stuff. It does feel a little bit sidelined, and you're right. I'm surprised with Andy coming on, we're not seeing more regular updates of just covering everything Mantic, because this is a really good opportunity of roping in new fans to the other games. And Mantic have said it themselves, or like Dead Zone's it's based off the Dead Zone engine, so they really hope there's a flow-on effect. But if you're not throwing it out there, people going, all right, I'm going to follow Mantic now because of Halo, and then you're not posting anything else about anything else, how are they supposed to do anything else, collect or dive into anything else but Halo? So I completely agree with you there, Mark.
Well, sounds good. So what's your number 3, Dave?
My number 3 is timeline issues. With the Clash of Kings 2015 that came out, when does the Battle of Coral Gate take place? Like,
I don't know. Tell us.
No, I don't know either. Like, I have no idea.
That's a real problem if you don't know.
That's the problem. It's like there's no specific. Like the last date that I've got is 3,868, and that's when the Riftforged orcs arrived and attacked the Shire. That's the last concrete date we have. I have no idea when the Coral Gate took place, no idea when the Shadowed Horizons, that the campaign from 2013 took place. No idea. I have no idea where the timeline is right now. All I know is these events take place, I'm assuming, after each other. I mean, for all we know, the Coral Gate could have taken place like 20 years ago in the timeline. And this is the thing, it's not really established. And I think if you start establishing when things take place, keep doing it. Don't just stop. You establish when the Riftforged orcs attacked. Just keep going. That was in 2022. Just keep establishing where the timeline is, and then that way we can get a good idea of which characters even from like a fan fiction, or if we're thinking about making our armies more lore specific, of which named characters would still be alive, like a human. If you introduce a human in The Edge of the Abyss, humans only last for like 60, 70 years. They're probably not going to be alive if it's 60 years later. So you don't want to incorporate them in your army or in your stories. So I have no idea when it takes place. And I think that's something that we have tried to establish. And then once we started to establish, meaning the community and like the writers as well, in the front of the books, they have a timeline of when things happen. It just starts to go off the rails if Mantic aren't giving us the dates of when things are happening. So I have no idea when the Battle of Coral Gate took place. So the most recent second 2-player pack that's going to come out, or the Clash of Kings 2025, no idea when it actually occurs. So yeah, that's my rant.
Well, all this lore exists in Matt Gilbert's head, so we just have to ask Matt.
Yeah, but you shouldn't need to. I mean, the one rule I have about the wiki is that anyone should be able to replicate this with the information they have, right? So I'm not going to put things in there that isn't written down or established. So unless it's specifically from an art, I can put a little note saying that this person told me off cut, or the author states like one of the like a character's name in one of the books just was never mentioned for some reason, popping that in there. But I mean, the idea of it is that anyone can look it up and prove that this is when it took place. So write it down in your lore, guys. Just write down when things take place, because then Because that's how stories are made. There's timelines and eras, and I mean, if imagine Star Wars, if you didn't know when if any of the movies were just placed everywhere and you didn't actually know when they took place in the timeline, it wouldn't make any sense. Timelines, people. But anyway, that's just my little gripe. So
that's a good way to wrap it up. Timelines, people.
Yeah, timelines, people. Yeah, you guys. I mean, at the the British came out with Doctor Who. So you guys know about timelines and wibbly wobbly fan stuff. So work out your timelines.
There you go. All right, moving on. Number 2. Let's see. My number 2. We did not get the mysterious third faction released in 2024.
That's my number 4.
Yeah, that's my number. So we didn't get it. And my number 2. I was really fired up for that. I speculated it was the Herd. I could understand some people were saying Green Lady or something, but I still think they had a plastic frame. So that was the hint. It was an army that didn't have a plastic frame. So, but I think we missed out on a big chunk of lore, which is why
I think so.
I'm sad. And I really think that that would have helped. And I think if we would have got placoderms in the Trident Realms, we might have gotten our third faction. But that was it. What did we miss out on?
Yeah, I think it's a question of whether the Trident Realms, the sales of the Trident Realms stopped the third one being released, because I think they learned the wrong lessons. The reason why the Trident Realms didn't sell wasn't because people didn't want the Trident Realms or a refresh. They just wanted the refresh to be significant enough, like the Force of the Abyss. I don't know the sales. Again, this is me just speaking based off what people have kind of told me, but a lot more people bought the Forces of the Abyss new models rather than the Trident Realms. So I think that's where the misstep happened. So I hopefully Mantic realized the reason why they did that is not because they didn't want to do it, that there was another reason, and that they didn't just go, oh, people don't want this. No, because people wanted it. They just wanted it done, and giving the people something more than what they actually delivered.
All right. So what's your number 2?
My number 2 was the Trident. Which ones am I up to? All right, I've only got one left. How many do you have left?
I've got one after you talk. So.
Oh, okay, sweet. My one's a bit of a rant. Do you want to go first?
No, go for it. How can I join in if you don't rant first? So,
okay. So I'm
going to settle back here for a minute.
Yeah, my last gripe for the year is the removal of physical copies from the Mantic website for the books. And they're not even giving the link to go get them. So for those that don't know, you can buy the ebooks from the Mantic website. And they used to show the physical copies just saying out of stock.
And just real quick, we're talking about the novels from Winged Hussar.
The novels, that's correct, sorry. Yeah, the novels. And I think I got the Broken Alliance physical copy from the Mantic website. It was the first Mantic one I had, and they must have been running out of stock at that point. So I bought that, and it was always out of stock. And I was just waiting around for the other books. I was buying some of the ebooks. It's only £10 or whatever your conversion rate is. So I was just reading them. And I was in hospital for some of this as well, so I was reading a lot of the books while I was there. But I wanted the physical copies. I'm a physical, reading an ebook doesn't sometimes sync in my brain. It's the ADHD in me that I need a physical thing, something to hold, that I need to bookmark and reread the same line over and over again, or go back a couple pages because I've forgotten. It's just the nature of my brain. And I love the physical copies, and it was just always out of stock. And then they removed them completely from the website. Now, I found out that Winged Hussar sells the physical copies, and you can also get them through Amazon and other areas, but I like supporting directly the ones that created the works. And it's just I don't like getting it through there, even though it's probably a good thing to do it that way, but it's just my nature. I like to get it that way. And I found out that you can actually buy the physical copies from Winged Hussar. But a new person coming to this lore that would just go to the Mantic website wouldn't know that at all. They would have no idea you can buy physical copies of every single one of these books. There's also no link on their website to pre-order the 4 coming out next year. Even on the announcement article that they released a couple of days ago, on there, it's showing the 4 books. It says, click here if you want to read the ebooks, and it goes to the ones that are actually released. But if you want to pre-order any of those books, you can't. The only way you can do it is to go to the Winged Hussar website. If you know this information, go to the Winged Hussar website and then pre-order the books through them. How can you know the demand of the books if you don't give people the option to actually do it? I mean, that's one of the joys of pre-ordering, is to show the demand, show the enthusiasm behind the launches. And if you're not actually doing that on your own website, how do you expect people to get excited about lore? It kind of goes back to what I was saying before. How can your people get excited about the lore if you don't get excited about the lore themselves? And so this is one of our, they just removed them completely, gave no link to get them. And a lot of people turn around and, well, people don't care about the lore. It's like, well, you're not giving them an option to care about the lore. You're not giving them that doorway to get more invested in the lore. Background information only can get you so far. Novels, books, look at the Black Library from Warhammer. The reason why that became its own thing is because people got invested in those stories and incorporated a lot of those stories on the table. People love multi-universe kind of cross-media stuff nowadays. I mean, Marvel may have buggered it up, but I mean, the reason why they loved it to begin with is because Marvel had been doing that for years, and their comics have crossing all of them over. Star Trek's been doing it for generations. Well, generations? 60 years. That's not generations, that's a couple of generations. But they're doing it for 60 years. You have to be passionate about it if you want other people to be as passionate about it. Now, if you are interested in pre-ordering the books and you're not sure how to get there, on the wiki, so kingsofwarwiki.com, if you go to the novel section and look for the novels that are coming up over the fall, and we'll go over them probably in the looking forward to section, I've got the pre-order link there, so you can click that and go ahead and pre-order it. But it really disappoints me that Mantic talk about not having enough money to do things, not people being invested in Kings of War, but you're not even giving the option for people to get that invested in that side of things as well. And it's really sad to see, because you would think, man, if you go to Mantic website, that should be their mega store. You should be able to buy anything Mantic or anything Mantic related there, and you should know how to get it. You should have links to the dice. What's the dice?
Barons of Dice.
That's right, Barons of Dice. You should be able to get links to that. You should be able to get links to get the physical copy of the novels if you want. Everything in the vault you should be able to buy physically, in my opinion, because not everyone has a 3D machine. I really want a Halfling Command, but I don't have a 3D printer. I can't get one, and it's very expensive here to get one. I'm not going to pay like $60 plus just to get the little the command. I'd rather get it from Mantic when I'm buying other models as well, and books and stuff like that. Because I've ordered pretty much all the books this year. There's a couple I'm still missing, but if I was ordering them directly from Mantic, I would have been chucking in a lot of that stuff at the same time. It just feels like a missed opportunity for a company that says, we want money. It's like, yeah, we've got money to give you. I just have to give it to the other companies because you don't have it. But yeah, anyway, that's my rant. I love you, Mantic. I'm sorry.
Well, here, we'll step up. So I'm going to make a mark here. So Chris, hopefully we'll, and based on this request, we'll add the Winged Hussar link in our show notes so that you can go directly to the Winged Hussar page with the upcoming novels so you can pre-order them. And hopefully Mantic will do that. But you're right. I mean, Black Library has a link right on the Games Workshop website. You can order books right off of the website. So
yeah, great,
easy peasy. So I agree with you. And we love the novels, and so
we do. And the writers behind it love them too. I mean, it seems like everyone loves them, but the website.
All right. Well, we'll keep talking about it, and hopefully everybody will catch up here. I know everybody's busy. So, but
I know, but I mean, it's not hard to do it. Like, I'm sorry, I do understand. Things are busy. It's a lot easier to say than do. But they also did just write an article about the books coming up and had no way of pre-ordering it. And it's not hard to put in a line, just say, click here if you want to pre-order.
I'm not going to argue. All right, number one. My number one. The Battle of the Coral Gate didn't come out in 2024. It's coming out in January 2025.
So is your list just things that you didn't get this year that's coming next year?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Let's see, but, I've got all the 2-player sets. I love the 2-player sets. And again, I have a lore twist for every one of these for you, Dave. So inside the Battle for the Coral Gate is the little book, and I love the little campaigns. And they always come up with new names for forces and stuff like that. So I think we missed out on some lore there with it not coming out, and it made me sad. So now my family, of course. Well, go ahead.
Oh, they released the names of the characters, at least, on their website, on, I think, a news article. There was a news article on it.
Well, see, we missed out on some lore here. So I'm really sad that it didn't come out. So, and in particular, because my family, they know me so well, for Christmas, I ended up with 3 of the 2-player starter sets again. So I had plenty of models. And then, of course, one of them was flat, and it was said, "Coming soon, new 2-player starter set." They printed the little square off of the website. So I got that pre-ordered for me. So I'm very, very happy about that. So, but, again, and not just because it wasn't under the Christmas tree, but I think that, we missed out on getting some lore here in 2024, and it would have been nice. And I did say I was going to hold off on getting the Abyssal and Trident Realm models until that kit came out. And I did not buy the Abyssal stuff yet, so I'm keeping my word. Now the frogs got me, though. I bought those at Origins. But anyways, I'm looking forward to that set coming out. I just love the 2-player starter sets, and I love the little campaigns in there and everything else. So
me too.
Everybody knows that. Me too. So,
and I
was your number one? Oh, go ahead.
I already gone from my number one because I only had one left. But I do love those little booklets. Luckily, and thanks, Matt Gibbs, and that's why I feel bad for bashing Mantic for a little while. Matt Gibbs was very nice and gave me some PDFs for the wiki of those booklets, and I'm a little bit. I think it's a missed opportunity right now not to just do a compilation of all those booklets and give them out, because there is some really cool stuff in that. In those booklets of scenarios, and I think narrative gaming is on the rise, especially within the Mantic community. We're seeing more and more of those events. I do know MUP has a lot of people that are involved with those, so yeah, I think you're 100% right. We missed out on that, and I think maybe in the future we should push to try and get a compilation of all those, because I think it'll be really cool for someone to get them and just to reenact them if you got them.
Oh yeah, I just love them. So in particular, the one that came out and its name is dropped right out of my head, the one with the Abyss and the Forces of Nature. And you just got a copy of it. So,
yes, I should do a shout out, actually. I was going to do that at the end, but Mark Otley, a fellow New Zealander who lives in Christchurch, just south of where I am, he got the Battle of the Glades from, it's a second edition 2-player set.
It. Battle of the Glades. I think that was the first. Yeah, that was the first set that had a little booklet in it.
Yeah, and I've got physically the booklet now, and I love it because it's giving a little bit insight about some named characters that I hadn't documented before. I think he got it off Mighty Ape, and Mighty Ape over here is like, it's kind of like the Amazon. That it's Amazon's not that big over here, so it's really Mighty Ape is the bigger company, and they must have found an old copy while they were getting rid of all the stock. And Mark saw it a couple of weeks ago and bought it online, and he sent me the booklet as a Christmas present. So it was really, really sweet of him, and I love my lore, and I love going through that booklet and going, oh, this is how second edition was. And yeah, it's a really good booklet, but it shows you just how far they've come as well, and how narrative gaming has always been something Mantic have done. It just seems to be only in these 2-player sets that they're kind of contained in at the moment, when it shouldn't be. Open those doors up, and I think I think they did Hellfire and Stone. I think from the first edition, that was a narrative campaign that was really good, and that was actually Free Dwarfs before Free Dwarfs were actually a thing. And I think if they bring a lot of that back, but a lot of people put their hands up. It won't be a huge money spinner. They won't make a massive amount of money, but I think they're showing with the Vault they can do smaller releases that can get people excited. You just have to give people an opportunity to get excited about it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So another shout out for those. But, I do give them credit for those Start Collecting books. They're putting those in the army boxes now, and I think those are really cool. So
yeah, I think it's really good, and to get more people invested in just continue getting excited about it. And I think as the lore gets more richer, we're going to see a lot more integration. Well, I think you have to see a lot more integration between the table and what's happening and the lore side of it. I mean, that ultimately that's why 40K is the massive beast that it is because what happens on the table and what happens in the lore, there's a lot of cross-pollination, and they've really nurtured that over the years. So I really hope that happens with Pannithor, because there's no reason why it can't. The only restriction is ourselves, really, and keeping each other accountable.
There you go. Hey, a little foreshadowing for my list for 2025. You'll see how that plays in.
So how many books on your list for? So we'll look forward now. So I hope everyone takes all those negative things as more of us being disappointed rather than like harsh criticism. But yeah. Anyway, we'll look forward to 2025.
Well, here, let's. Why don't we go ahead and just take a quick commercial break, and we will be back on the other side of some bumpers, and we will dive into our wish lists for 2025.
This is Max McDougall from McDougall Designs, your provider for all things Mantic and other wargaming products here in the U.S.
The Mantic Universe Podcast. So much universe, so little time.
And welcome back. All right, now it is time to look forward to 2025. And actually, this was the easiest list for me to put together, Dave.
It's just all the books, isn't it?
Well, okay, I'm going to start off with number 5 because you're teasing me. And yes, I'm looking forward to novels 13 through 16 to be coming out in 2025. So, very cool.
To be fair on you, Mark, my number 1 to 4 are all the books.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I got Fall of Celestians is number 1. And then Through Thick and Thin is number 2. I'm guessing your number 1 is Through Thick and Thin, right?
No. I did I had so much stuff. I had to jam all the novels in one category.
I didn't have too much because a lot of it's speculative stuff, like 4th edition and so forth. So I've just got the books like The Fall of Celestians I'm really excited about. Anyway, did you want to, what's your piece on the...
let's go through them here. I mean, yeah, right. So we're going to do Fall of the Celestians. That's C.L. Werner.
Correct.
And bringing it out.
Yep, so that's going to be about the smashing of the mirror, the infamous mirror event that caused the separation of Celestians to the wicked ones and the shining ones, if people remember our lore episode on that. So the most important thing about that is it's written by somebody who's been writing the lore for Mantic for the last 2 years in the Clash of Kings. So in Clash of Kings 2024 specifically, there is a reimagining of that event, which was written by him. So I've got a feeling that we are going to get a lot of consistency when it turns to what's actually going to be in the novel and what was in that book about those events, which I'm quite interested because it does go into a bit of the origins of the Night Stalkers as well. So I'm really excited for that particular one. And Clint has offered to pop onto our show when the book comes out. So that would be really cool to have a good chat with him.
Fantastic. This is the seminal event for Kings of War. It's why Kings of War is Kings of War. So, I mean,
great. Every faction is based off a wicked one. Yeah. Or wicked or shining one. Yeah.
So if there is a book that you want to read, it's this one. This is the book. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. And Clint's such an excellent writer. You know,
he loves
I'm really looking forward to it. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's the second one in the trilogy as well. So the next one after is the God War, that's when we get the creation of the orcs. That's when we get the creation of the herd. So many species were created from there and how they got imprisoned in the abyss. I think I'm looking forward to the God War one, mainly because it will finally explain, how Domavator, whatever the way he ended the war, he's half-blooded Celestian. How does that all work? So does it mean Celestians can actually reproduce? I think there's so many cool questions that we're going to have answered in these two books, and especially the God War one of why they're imprisoned in the abyss. I'm just really excited for that book. I think it's my number one.
Oh, there you go. All right. So where'd you put Rage and Grace by D.R. Chester? That's coming
I put that fourth. I'm not too excited, but you can go because I know you do.
Well, it's interesting. This is a little different of a story, and that's why I'm really interested about it. So the little blurb on it says it's a young elf girl who's plagued with seeing nightmares in her waking world, and her only salvation is the spirit of the woods, a forest shambler. It's like, okay, that's not how your usual Kings of War novel goes. So I'm very interested because it sounds like it's a lot more micro, as opposed to some of this grandiose stuff. It sounds like it's a story set in Pannithor kind of thing. And I could be wrong. That's just the way it reads. So, and I know
agree.
DR is a first-time author, so it should be interesting to see how this book turns out.
Yeah, I'm a big believer on telling smaller stories. Not every story needs to be, world shattering or world changing. There's so much in the world of Pannithor that you can write smaller stories on, that tapping into that, especially with a faction that you're really passionate about. Like this is going to be the first real story about the Twilight Kin, because and the Sylvian King as well. We've had little bit nuggets here and there, but telling a smaller story, I think, is needed in this world a lot more than we probably think, just to flesh out the culture, flesh out the way factions interact with each other. I think there's even a story of why the Abyssal slaves are the Retkin slaves are different than the Abyssal dwarfs. I think there's a lot of little stories that you could really tell to help flesh out the world. I think this is a good example of that in the future, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm not a huge Twilight Kin or Sylvian Kin, follower or believer, you could say, or whatever you want to term. Just I don't have much interest in that, but books often can change perception on that. So I'm looking forward to them trying to sell me on these factions, because I just love the world. The timeline of the book kind of messed me up a little bit, because it did mention that the Dwarven Civil War in the Harpy Mountains were taking place. So I thought it was the Civil War that took place hundreds of years ago. So I thought this was actually going to be a book that took place hundreds of years before the current timeline, which I'm referring to as 3,868. But it turns out this in the modern timeline, the Civil War that they're referring to is just the Free Dwarfs and the Dwarfs conflict that's taking place in Pride of a King. So it is a book that's taking place in modern day.
Oh, there you go. All right. And then the next one, we've already mentioned the next two. Claws on the Plain by James Dunbar is coming out. And it looks like it's spotlighting a group of mercenaries, Dargent's Claws, as they seek fortune and fame. So it's going to be very interesting. We'll have to see. Now, this book is supposed to be available at Adepticon 2025. So along with
when's that?
The next, that is going to be in March 2025.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
Yep. And that's going to be available with Through Thick and Thin, which we talked about already about Mark Barber. This is a sequel to Pius. It's another Armada novel, and again, it's supposed to be available with Claws on the Plain at Adepticon 2025. So
yeah,
it's late.
I know
March.
Mark's been ready to go with it for a while.
Oh, everybody has been. I told you it was on my bummer list. I was really looking forward to that one. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Claws of the Plain, I'm looking forward to, because it is the classic orc versus human kind of deal. My Warcraft brain kind of triggers on that one. I do feel like you need just a classic orc versus human story, and to find out how that goes down, because humans in this world aren't really good. They're neutral. So it all depends on what kind of humans these are. And Through Thick and Thin, I'm excited about, because it has Timork on it, Timork is a High Priest Timork. Timork, or however you want to say it, is actually a character you can play on the table right now for the Emperor of Dust Armada. You can select him as a captain. So this is going to be the first canon story on a character that essentially has been able to be played on the table for years. So I'm excited for that. And plus it's a sequel to a really great book as well. And it's Armada. Armada may have a really great year next year. So
yeah, looking forward to it, definitely. So, do you just want to mention the one that's left on your list, and we'll see if it's in my remaining 4, and then I'll run through the rest of mine. So
yeah, I decided just to do the books, because I think that's got the most lore meat that's coming up. But the number 5 is Kings of War Champions, which was announced a couple of days ago for us. For anyone listening, this was probably about a week ago. We don't really know what it is. A lot of people suggest it could be ambush. Some people think it could be essentially the Dead Zone version of Pannithor because of using the success of Halo, using that same kind of model and pasting it over to Kings of War. There's so many things it could be, but also a lot of lore potential depending on what it is. If it's Ambush, could we be seeing those booklets come in that we were talking about earlier of smaller battles and then that being fleshed out to be more of a narrative kind of game, or if they're more individual, so like a 4 versus 4 kind of thing? Could we see a lot of stories about war parties and bands and so on? There's a lot it could be. There's also a lot it couldn't be, and that's what I'm excited about, because normally with a new game comes a lot of lore. So that's exciting.
And that's why it was my number 1.
So, there you
Kings
go.
of War Champions. So
Yeah.
very excited about that. You never know. I have heard so many things.
I've heard a lot
looking
as
at
well.
Fanatics. It's like, is it Overdrive fantasy? Is it, I've heard that it's a replacement for Ambush. It's like nothing can replace Ambush. Okay.
It's done by Rob Berman as well.
Yeah. Well, that's why everybody's suspecting that it's Overdrive, because Rob wrote Overdrive. So, but Rob's a creative guy. He could have written something else. So, but
he wrote Ascent of the Goblin King.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The best. I'm sorry. The best Kings of War novel, hands down. Not even close. Throw everybody out. Sorry, Mike Rossi. That is my favorite of them all. I love that book. If you're going to read a Kings of War novel, folks, get Ascent of the Goblin King. Period. Mic drop. Done.
Mark does not speak on behalf of Dave.
Which one's your absolute favorite?
Oh, I mean, it's always the first. I love Broken Alliance. I think that feels a lot like it's a very war book.
It's a very war book.
Yeah, I'll say Broken Alliance 3, Ascent 2. At the moment, I would say Honest Price is my number 1, just because I'm going through it at the moment and rereading it, and I love the sibling relationship. I love the respect everyone gives and the heartbreak and all that. So I don't know, it will change. It's just like any your top 5 movies of all time. Everything changes, but that's my list at the moment. Ascent is definitely up there. I think Ascent touches on basically every faction to some degree, even if it's just mentioning it in passing. So Ascent of the Goblin King. I mean, Rob worked for Mantic. He was inside. He had inside baseball of a lot of that stuff. So Ascent is a really good book, and it's a good example of how what happens on the table can tie in with a novel. Because if you read Edge of the Abyss and you read Ascent of the Goblin King, they mesh so well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They even have a snippet from there that's not directly from the book. It's basically from the book, but just the names of the characters aren't there. So it's really good.
Great book. But yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I think it's going to be the introduction to Kings of War game, maybe.
I think they're going to I think they're going to jump onto the Halo craze of like making a game similar. Just like I think they're going to make a Kings of War version of Dead Zone, to be honest. That's just my gut feeling. Just because of that being a transition kind of game from Halo to Dead Zone, I think they need something for Kings of War too. But that's just a theory. It's got no base of evidence whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, we actually worked on a Kings of War hybrid, like Dead Zone version. Like even if you go over to we did a long time ago, and oddly enough, it was called Kings of War Champions. So, but yeah. So we'll see what happens. If
it turns out to be exactly the same, are you guys going to sue?
No.
Be funny.
We'll just be omnipotent. That's all, or something.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that.
Rob is typically pretty inverse with the community anyway, so I'm pretty sure he's aware of it, and hopefully it's different enough. It's just the same in name only. But we'll see.
We'll see what we get. I mean, we don't have to wait that long. I think we'll find out more in January, which is like a couple days away.
Fingers crossed.
At the time of this recording. So
yes.
All right. Well, then I am going to shift back to my number 4.
Yeah.
So for that, what I'm looking for in 2025 is what, dear listener, you deliver with Mupp Stories and the new Mupp Stories team. So the latest episode is just outstanding. Oh my gosh, Walt, tip of the hat, chef's kiss, great stuff. I mean, so please give it a listen and check it out and participate. Fantastic. I love it. I love the audio drama part that is brought to it and everything else. Just like I said, chef's kiss, great stuff.
And if you want a way to reaching out, our Discord's always there. There's Mup Stories channel. Feel free to go in there if you want to have a talk about it, or even just reach out to Walt without messaging directly. Some people don't feel that comfortable. Always drop into the Discord and just, hey, and just check out your ideas or get in contact, because the whole point of that Discord is so you can connect and engage with us and maybe even participate. So feel free to join the Discord if you want to.
There you go. Do we have a link to the Discord somewhere?
It should be on the YouTube at least. There's definitely a link to Discord on every video.
All right, great. Yeah, we'll have to talk to Chris about getting that up in the links on Facebook and everything else. So, but
yeah, I need him to correct the links, because the links for the YouTube doesn't go to our channel. It goes to, I think, on tabletop. So I need him to check those links.
That's because Jerry was on the show. So so
exactly.
We'll have to check that out. But yeah, we're putting a bigger emphasis on the Discord. And so there's multiple channels in there now. So you can jump over there and check things out. There's one from Up Stories, but just terrific stuff. And it's always great hearing your stories. So I'm looking forward to the lore you come up with in 2025.
That's a good one. I like it.
There you go. My number 3. Well, 4th edition or the Cock 26 book, whichever one we get in September, October in 2025, and the lore updates we're going to be getting. I have no idea what 2 armies we're going to get. I have no idea what 2 armies would be in a launch box for 4th edition. And 4th edition. So, I mean, it's going to be wild. So, do you have any inside tips or hints or anything there for us, Dave?
Well, 4th edition was on my meh list. So I have a meh list of things I'm excited but not excited for, because one, we don't know if it's coming out next year. It's a big assumption that it is. A lot of people are saying it is. Mantic's not even saying it is, so we don't even know if it's going to be just announced in 2025 and then released in 2026, something like that. So I'm not too excited. I haven't put it on my list because we don't know if it's going to be next year. The other point is there is a lot of talk of factions being removed or lost, which I'm not excited for. I'm not looking forward to not being able to flesh out these factions anymore, because they're just no longer applicable, because the minute the faction's not in the game, you don't really hear about them anymore. So I'm not looking forward to it. And also, it feels like it could be a bit of a make or break moment. And at the moment, some of the, let's say, decisions that have been made haven't given me too much confidence that they're going to hit it for 4th edition, especially with the command dice. Not how it works in the game, just how it was shown and how the feedback that all came with it. It was shown that it was there, and then the community just went wild and started cannibalizing each other, instead of Mantic coming out and saying, this is how the game is actually, how the command dice actually work, and easing everyone's concerns. It was just a lot of people got very upset about it, and I just don't feel confident that it's going to be handled well as well. So I'm more nervous about it, because I kind of like it where things are now, because it just feels like any announcement about 4th edition isn't going to be handled well. That's just my gut feeling.
Yeah, I just think 3.5, whatever you want to call it, is going so well. My biggest fear is that they need to just make sure they don't screw up 4th. So, that's the big thing.
I feel like they're going to try and dramatically change it and don't need to. Like I think one of the huge benefits to Kings of War is how much diverse and how diverse the faction selection is. Because you never see any tournament with one faction always dominating. It's pretty mixed up of who's coming on that top 5 or top 10 list. I mean, you get the same names because they're just good players, but the factions are typically never not the main component of who's hitting the top. The meta is diverse enough that you can still pick the army that you want and be competitive at the same time. But if they lose that, it starts to go back to what people didn't like about some of the other games, like Fantasy Battles, where the options were limited if you want to be competitive. The model selection was very small. You couldn't play the army that you wanted, and then the price of the models were very high. People you basically had to be rich if you wanted to keep playing. And unfortunately nowadays, especially people maybe in the 30s, like my age, or even 20s or younger, they just don't have the expendable income to spend on the models anymore. Not like we did when we were growing up, when I was in my 20s, or not even 20s, when in my teenage years, in the 2000s. So I do worry about that. So I'm very meh about it, because I'm excited, but I'm not at the same time. So that's where I land.
Yeah, I know Matt Crozier's, he mentioned in the last episode of Countercharge that it could be a bloody dumpster fire. So we'll see what happens. But he's excited. Yeah. He's like, let's clear out some chaff, baby. That includes rules and people. Let's just see what fourth brings. So,
yeah, but I mean, that only works for the people that are heavily competitive, though. I mean, that kind of, people that aren't more casual, like myself, I'll consider myself more casual, maybe more lore heavy. But I mean, I love having a halfling army, just because I never got to collect one when I was collecting Warhammer, because that's why I always went with dwarfs. You got to think about, there's the competitive ones, but there's also the people that are just observing the game from afar, the ones that aren't heavily invested, the ones that aren't going to tournaments all the time, because they don't have the opportunity. I know in New Zealand there's a lot of people that play Kings of War. We're so spread out that you never get them playing competitively, they just collect it. So I think if you got the attitude of, we're just going to wipe all this stuff out, the only one's going to be happy is your competitive scene, and unfortunately they're not keeping the money going, because they've already got their models. So
they're about 5%. Yeah, they're about 2 to 5% of the fan base.
Exactly.
So so we'll see what happens. Of course, they're the most vocal, but so we'll have to see what happens. But again, the big thing is, I don't know which two armies we're going to get. Are we going to get Ophidia? What are we going to do? You're going to have a big splash in that release box, I think, to get people buying it and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, like Jerry said in the monthly, dwarfs really need a good refresh, because I think dwarfs should be given a bit of a revamp, but just because it's been a while, and plus dwarfs and now free dwarfs are so unique now that you probably could do a refresh for both of them at the exact same time. You could do the refresh of some of the standard ones, but you could also make variants for a free dwarf side of things as well to make them stand out a little bit more. There is a good potential. You could do 2 for 1 here. You could just do a dwarf refresh, but then add enough uniqueness to it to also make it a free dwarf refresh as well.
Yeah, dwarf on free dwarf. Another thing people talk about is possibly dwarf on elf and get the elf range redone. And my only fear of all that is that we already have them. You know what I mean? Do I go back and then I end up with another Trident Realm type of release where it's like, yeah, there's dwarfs and elves. Okay, cool. But, something exciting like Ophidians, that would, Ophidians versus the Herd, all new models, could that be a huge hit or what?
Lore-wise, that would make no sense. Yeah, because, if you look at the map, they are like the Infant Sea is in between the Herd and the Ophidia. But
I understand that.
It makes sense. Well, is something going to blow up?
Sorry about that. The big thing is with that is that, the Herd can kind of be like orcs. See, this is where the new lore comes in. They could be anywhere.
Yeah. Exactly.
If there's a patch of trees, there could be, either forces of nature or the Herd. There's too much locked up in Gala here. So
they are nomads. Yeah.
Yeah, they got to release the hounds, so to speak, a little bit and do that. So that's my big thing. And then as far as that goes, and then my last one, and this is a little wish listing. Can we get some Kings of War named character models released in the vault? Okay,
yes.
Like we've got that special abyssal dwarf Ironcaster. He could have been named something. They can be used as a regular hero or something, but. They can be modeled after our favorite characters from the novels, like Orion, for instance. We need a model or two. And the vault is the perfect place to do that. The perfect place to do that. Even if you did one character model, for the price of the vault for the month, it would be worth it. Even if you wanted nothing else in there and you got that character. And I know that's a bugaboo with you, Dave. So I agree with you. They should move all that stuff to my mini factory, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, I just think that would be absolutely something that they should do. And we've talked about this entire podcast, tying the lore in the novels to the game, and, Winged Hussar to this. And I'm sure there's some kind of copyright issue with this, that, or the other thing. You know what? You can have contracts and work yourself around all that. Okay?
Yeah, so, I don't think, based on what I know and based off what the conversations I had with Brandon Respawn and all the writers, they're not against doing this. This is something that they want, and I'm pretty sure that's not going to be a huge issue, and they want more integration. They would love to put their characters on the table. And to be fair to Mantic, there are a bunch of named characters that are in the vault. So there's Asmund Doomfire, which is an abyssal dwarf. That's the character from the Dragon Saga Origins, Daughters of Doom. For Basileans, you've got Samacris, the Eoi, whatever, and Julius.
Elohai and Mark's.
Yeah, Eoi. Yeah, I can barely pronounce them. And we also who we've got we've got just a recent one, Malti Busu. That's the Force of the Abyss.
That's how I say it, actually. And yeah, she's the Abyssal Seductress from the Edge of the Abyss campaign. And we actually have got another one too. I think it was in last December 2023 pack when they did the Elf release.
Oh, there's others. I'm just going down the list that I have on the wiki.
There's a couple of them. So
I've got Thalga
there's some Asterians. Yeah.
Thalga Swiftfoot. Thalga Swiftwood is the free dwarf that, when you look at the big red book and you go to every faction and they've got that big silhouette of a face. Right. Yeah, that's actually Thalga Swiftfoot. She's got literally no lore about her, but that's her name. And she's actually got a model that she was actually the Vanguard female model. That's a ranger. That's actually her.
There you go. So December 2023, they got Lethiel Bleakheart. She was from the Twilight Kin, and she was in the lore. So, yeah, it's not like we don't have character models that are in the vault. That's why I think.
And you got Renato as well, the Bard.
Oh, yeah. Ronnie the Bard, absolutely.
Ronnie the Bard, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just think that is such a natural. I mean, I just think that we should be able to pull that off somehow. So.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I mean, even Pius or whatever.
Pius,
Pius. I always mispronounce it and feel socially awkward when I say it. Mark Barber's book, he actually released a way of converting one of your models to Pius, of using it, I think it was an EOI, I can't even say the word, class ship, and being able to convert it to a second batch. He's got all the instructions there. All you have to do is just make an STL for it and pop it on. He's done the legwork for you. I mean, it's quite easy to get a lot of this lore characters on the vault. You're giving extra to the vault. I've got an STL Kings of War catalog if anyone's interested on the wiki on kingsofwarwiki.com. It's on the resources. I've got a list of everyone there. And there's so much more you can do with the vault without breaking the bank. And I think you could tap into a lot of this lore stuff and put those characters on. I would love to see more female dwarfs. There's so many good female dwarven characters now that are in the lore that all we're doing is waiting for them to be on the table. There's so many awesome also just characters in general for across everything that we could easily just have on the table just to reenact some of that narrative stuff. I'm completely on your side with it. I could rant about it for ages, so I'm going to stop myself.
Well, wouldn't that be cool if Kings of War Champions had Orion?
That would be amazing.
That be cool? that would be amazing.
And it would be a good kind of reward to the fan base for being so loyal and for writing all these cool stories and just sticking with it. Like, if you're able to go, all right, we're going to release a Steps of Deliverance war band, because maybe let's just hypothetically it's a war band kind of thing. these 4 characters that are come from the Steps to Deliverance are going to be, made of models, and now you can actually play them on the table. You can actually get the pack for it, so you can actually get those 4 models plus the book if you want. You can just make that a little package and sell that. That would be an amazing one. A good thank you to the author for creating these characters. Maybe you do a bit of an incentive program of saying, hey, 5% of profits will go to you as well, and that may encourage future writers to get on board, but also just more kind of respect for your creators. And I don't know, they could do quite a lot with it depending on what the game actually is.
Well, following the one-page rules template, they could go to My Mini Factory. They could do 4 of the characters from a novel. They could run a Frontiers campaign, and they could, instead of like creating even something new, they could just give away the ebook along with 4 models, of the characters from the book, and run Frontier campaigns on that. That would be cool. Having extra scenarios would be cool. With that, they could use My Mini Factory a lot more effectively than they are. So I think that those would be super cool, because I love what one-page rules does. It's just the rules just don't get me. But boy, the way they run things over there, I think there's an excellent template for Mantic over there to, pick off a couple of choice bits to take us to the next level.
Yeah, they could do so much more with the Vault and Companion. It does feel like the Vault and the Companion have kind of stagnated, is that they're not pushing the envelope, they're not trying new things, they're kind of just keeping the status quo, and I don't think anything's going to change until they're forced to. What they should be doing is making the Companion and the Vault so good that no one else can compete, and at the moment it's very stagnant. But yeah. So yeah, I think we're done with that.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we're done with the show. So thank you very much for everyone for listening, and our best wishes for you for 2025. So before we go, do you have any shout outs, Dave, or anything that...
We'll just acknowledge that the Law Council was set up, but that's about all we're going to say about the Law Council, because that's literally all we know. It exists. But yeah, just overall, just thank you everyone for this year. This year's been, for those that don't know, it's been pretty rough for me. Last December, I was diagnosed with a genetic disorder that I was born with a bypass valve, and basically now I need a heart transplant. I actually go on the heart transplant list officially on the 6th of January, so 3 days probably after you're listening to this, depending on when you're listening to it. And Kings of War and the novels and the way the community and MUP have embraced me and let me be crazy around them about the law has helped me get through it, and it's still helping me get through it. I'm going to be housebound for about a year after I get the heart transplant, because they basically have to nuke your immunity. And so all this kind of stuff that I've set up, the website, everything that I've kind of gone through is going to help me get through that. It's a struggle every day, and some days I just don't want to wake up, but I still do. So I really just want to say thank you to everyone that's engaged, everyone that's listened, everyone that actually enjoys listening to me. I just like to be very patient about something, and if things don't go right, and this is the last one that I ever make, just know that I really appreciate the last year you all have provided and really helped me get through it, because we obviously don't know what's going to happen after I get on that list, and I can't tell anyone I'm getting it, because in New Zealand we're so small that everyone knows each other, so you can't really say anything when it's happening. But we'll see how it goes. So, and a personal thank you to you, Mark, for everything you've done and helped the show become what it is. And hopefully we can keep going and not drive each other crazy.
There you go. Well, we got you, Dave. So we really appreciate all the hard work that you've done. And I'm a very positive person. So So I think everything's going to turn out great. So those are my hopes.
If it doesn't, I'm going to haunt you. You realize that now, Mark.
I'm
going to haunt
you. Don't worry about it. We should be all good. So, all right. But, but no, thank you for all of your hard work. Really, really appreciate it. And all the best. And if you've got something, like events or something like that are coming up of a narrative nature or anything like that you want us to shout out here on the show, just give Dave or myself a shout out, in the Discord, or send us an email or something, or we'll try to do it here at shout outs at the end of the show. So
Yeah, well, we've got a few lined up already. And this is a special episode, so we'll do our regular episode sometime in early January. But we'll see how it go. We'll leave it there.
You got it. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We're really looking forward to 2025, and hopefully we will see you somewhere along the line and along the journey. So we look forward from hearing from you, and until next time, take care.